South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grandview Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book. Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
This is the best sports betting network.
I would argue it is a total mismatch.
There's value with underdog prices in series.
I would lean to the under here.
My numbers are saying I got to bet the Tigers.
Two-way action.
When in doubt, we juice that favorite, that extra nickel.
Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
Forget about it. The best.
It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Good morning. Welcome into this Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff. She's Alex. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. Florida Panthers officially back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Right behind us, Ryan McCormick with the graphic build. As you can see, the lift of the cup for the Florida Panthers as they have won back-to-back. As expected, the state of Florida is now the hockey capital of planet Earth. There we go. Yeah, there it is. See, it's on our full screen now. We can see the whole deal. But Florida wins the championship last night in a game that was really not even competitive against the Oilers, the only under of the series.
That's right.
And we barely got there. 5-1. Florida wins the title. We'll actually have odds up from the South Point later in the show for the 2026 Cup, which I'll be honest with you, Alex, it's going to be interesting to see what Chris's numbers are because I haven't even thought about 2026 yet, but we'll be curious because it's an interesting offseason at hand. What happens up in Toronto? Marner's going to be out of there. Do they even entertain the idea of trading Austin Matthews as well? How does Florida retain all these guys? Again, we expect Marchand to be gone. And, of course, for Edmonton, goaltending-wise, what do you do? What do you do? How can you justify bringing Skinner back? So a lot of storylines to look at, and we'll see the odds from Chris and company later on in the program.
I imagine that Florida and Edmonton are right up there as two of the favorites, seeing them back-to-back years there. But, yeah, I am very intrigued. So that is a nice tease. We will get to see those odds at the end of the show here.
Let's actually bring in our good friend who's going to join us right at the top of the show, the one and only Danny Burke. Who we haven't seen Danny in a little bit. There he is in the middle of your screen, Stochastic and Odd Shopper. DB, good morning. It's good to see you. I'm not gonna ask you your cup thoughts because I know you haven't thought about it since the Blackhawks have been relevant, which has been a better portion of about 6 years at this point. But Danny, I just want to ask you first on the NBA where Rick Carlisle just finished up about 20 minutes ago in Indianapolis, and it does not sound promising for Tyrese Halliburton to be able to go tomorrow night in a Game 6 that Indiana needs or they are done. It's up to 6.5. It's 221.5. Total down. OKC up. What are your thoughts tomorrow? What are your thoughts on the rest of this series if it happens to go more than one day?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're having a much different conversation if Halliburton's 100%. And even if he was 100% in the last game, I don't think that was a good spot whatsoever for the Pacers. So as a entire unit, I didn't really waver too much on my thought process, but now the injury alters things, right? Because going back home to Indiana, we've seen them play exceptionally well there. Oklahoma City still is the better team. But if Halliburton can't get that facilitating going, if he can't get especially any scoring going, particularly later in the game, then that's going to be a detriment, goes without being said, for this Pacers team. And look, 6.5, it seems about right. But should you rush to the counter to lay that spot if you like the Thunder? I don't really think so, because much like we've seen in the past with Indiana and with most teams, you're going to get a boost from playing at home, and you're going to get a little resurgence at one point or another, whether or not Halliburton's 100% or even playing. So I think the way to go about it is to wait for the Pacers to catch some momentum, whether it's early on or in the later stages of this game, and see if you can't get Oklahoma City around like 4.5, or even better than that. Because again, it's a volatile game. I'm not saying anything that's shocking anybody or breaking any news, but I just don't think it's worth it to lay this price early when realistically you're going to get the Pacers getting on a hot streak at one point or another. At least that's what the assumption is. There is still going to be some fight, of course, left in them with their backs against the wall in front of the home crowd. So I think that's going to be my approach. I do think the Thunder now, because of this Halliburton news, close it out in this sixth game. If he was 100% healthy, again, we'd be having a much different conversation about it. But because of that, and then the momentum that Oklahoma City gained back from that spot in game 5, yeah, it's really all Oklahoma City. And in terms of this total, I don't have that much confidence in the over in this series. What, it hit twice now. It was the last game and then game 2. And I smacked it in game 2, didn't touch it last game. I only like the Oklahoma City team total, but even them specifically, you're going to get everything thrown out of this Pacers team in a very tough environment. So I'd lean a little bit more so toward the total. I don't like that it's moved now upon that news. But yeah, the best approach from a game standpoint, I think, is an in-game wager, waiting for a better number on the Thunder.
I definitely agree with that approach, Danny. Curious your thoughts, of course, with the fallen star theory. You know, we're going to see some other guys step up. Anybody that you would be looking at props-wise, Siaka, maybe Neesmith, anybody from this Indiana team?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up in the first place. I'm not going to say that it's not applicable in the postseason, but I do think it's a little different when you're getting everybody going 100% for all 4 quarters, whereas opposed to the regular season, you can really apply that to your betting philosophy, and we see it come through for at least that one game. Now, Halliburton's been kind of a volatile scorer in the first place, and we've seen teams take advantage of it. We saw the Pacers actually get around it in game 1. He only scored like 14 points and they still won somehow. Can't even really still wrap my head around how they were able to pull that off. But because he was absent the last game and you've had enough time to prepare, I don't think it's going to be as much of an impact as we would see in other situations. But in terms of players who could step up on Indiana, and this has been a guy who I'm sure a lot of people have been caking on and can still do that, and that's TJ McConnell. Now, his points prop was around 7.5, 6.5 for a majority of this series. Now you're getting that bump because of what happened last game and because of the assumed absence of Tyrese Halliburton. But, 10.5, I would still have pretty heavy confidence that he could have a good opportunity to get toward the over. And what was really appalling was to see Rick Carlisle take him out of the game for a majority of the fourth quarter. I get that that's not been their traditional system that they've had where he's played a lot of it, but he was the only reason that they were in the game in the second half. And clearly Halliburton was banged up. He wasn't playing his best effort. So why wouldn't you have included him for a lot of that time to get that spark going? I think that's going to change now because of all of those ramifications. And I think you can still get a pretty good spot with him over 10.5 points. So that would be someone I would imagine could step up on the side of Indiana. Someone who I think could be impacted toward the under and hurt a little bit because of this. Not the sole reason, certainly, why I'm taking it. But I like Nemhard under 4.5 assists. There was plus money available at a book here in Illinois at about plus 110. Other outlets were moving it to about minus 102, minus 105. He's only gone over this once. That was game one. Otherwise, he's been limited to under 4.5 assists in every other game. And without the addition and assistance of Halliburton, especially up top, I think that will contain Nemhard enough to stay under this spot of 4.5. And again, the price was a big reason why I liked it as well at plus 110. So that's another prop that I like in terms of the Indiana side of things.
Danny, I want to shift gears over to baseball where I'll start macro here. And I want to start with your Chicago Cubs and the NL Central. Where, look, I said to Alex yesterday off the air, I feel like there's only one division race that is done at this point. That's the American League Central with the Tigers. Boy, the Cubs have an opportunity here to make it pretty close to being that number two. I know it's early. I get it's only June 18th, but the Cubs have the best run differential in baseball. They have the best run differential in the NL by almost 30 runs after last night. Danny, even in the best case scenario, I don't think anyone expected this from the Cubs. 17 games over 500 with the number two run scoring offense in all baseball right now.
No, not at all, Jeff. And it's not to say that people didn't expect them to compete for the number one spot in the division. That's where the bar was set, right? But seeing what Pete Crow Armstrong has done has been a revelation to this team. And the 180 that their bullpen has produced over the last month and a half has been incredible as well, because that was a huge knock on them from last season. Then coming into this year is they didn't make as many additions as people thought were going to be viable for them throughout their bullpen. But seeing that flip has been tremendous and a huge aid to their winning right now. What's kind of concerning certainly is the starting pitch. And you lost Justin Steele early. Shota's still coming back from his injury. So there's a lot of work to be done in that regard. And they're going to need to add not only to their starting rotation, but probably another arm in their bullpen as well. The offense has been great. We know what they're capable of. It should persist well enough to carry them throughout the division and then making the playoffs. With all of that being said, though, Jeff, I still think realistically the ceiling for this team is winning a playoff series. I don't think that they're going to contend for the World Series. And it pains me to say that as a diehard Cubs fan, and for Cubs fans who are going to be pissed that I say that. But let's just look at what happened in that series against Detroit, where they dropped, 2 out of 3. They hung in there, but clearly the pitching is a huge difference for them. And it's kind of night and day. You can see that. And then right after they dropped that series to the Phillies. Now, the Phillies are still one of the deeper and better teams in the National League. And just because of those two series isn't the reason why I'm saying this. I've kind of had the sentiment heading into the year and leading up into this point. And I think it's just they still have that kind of year away feel, or unless they make a huge move within their pitching to really spike them up and compete for the World Series. So yes, have complete confidence they'll win the Central, and they'll get into the playoffs and have a really good position to win that first round matchup. But after that, that's where you really get into the thick of it. And, you're really going up against some great teams and matchups and just lineups, and especially pitching that I don't think they're quite prepared to handle in a grueling series this season quite yet. So it's going to be a fun team. But yeah, I think people got to settle their expectations in terms of actually winning the whole dang thing.
Danny, let's keep it right there in the National League. We had the odds up to win the pennant there. Dodgers, of course, I know their roster that they have, but they have not been playing great. I know they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, plus 120 or 125 at some shops. Anything you like? Who do you think right now is the best team in the National League?
Yeah, it's a great question, Alex. And honestly, this Dodgers team, it's kind of fun from a fan perspective, seeing them not be as dominant as everybody projected. Now, of course, they still have a hold on the NL West, and it's still the Dodgers at the end of the day. So you don't want to go too nuts with it. But Jeff's Mets are finally turning things around here, but I'm still not that sold on this team, especially with their pitching. The Diamondbacks are making a somewhat decent resurgence. I know they dropped their past two, and yesterday was kind of heartbreaking for them, but it's good to see their offense turn things around. And eventually that is going to hurt the Dodgers the more they play each other. The Giants with the Devers acquisition is showing that they're going, relatively all out for it this year. And why shouldn't they? Their pitching has been phenomenal, and they got to keep bolstering that offense. And if they can do it, then they're certainly going to be contenders. But yeah, I mean, clearly the Dodgers still are the best team, and a long-winded answer. Does that mean I want to take anything on them? No, not necessarily. I still think the Phillies, who were one of my favorite teams heading into the season, are still a squad that probably presents your best bang for your buck based on their pitching, their pedigree, experience, and lineup that they all bring to the table. Even though the Mets have a couple games advantage on them, whether they're winning the division from Philadelphia or making it through the wild card, I'd still rather have a little bit more of an investment at a better price with them as opposed to the Dodgers, who have shown some vulnerabilities up to this point.
You've been high on the Phillies all year, Danny. You and I just, again, maybe I have a little bit of bias, but I just don't see it with the Phillies. I don't think their bullpen's that good. I'm concerned about their offensive consistency. I do want to ask you about one team that you sprinkled in there, but didn't go into fully, and that's the Giants, where before this weekend, and Alex and I had this conversation, I think probably 2 weeks ago on the air, of that I thought the Giants were going to come back to earth. I thought they were going to be where St. Louis is right now at 38, like somewhere in that pocket where, all right, they're a reasonable team, but they're not really a playoff threat. Mm-hmm. They're 3.5 games behind the Dodgers. They're right now in the second wild card in the NL. And now they traded for, look, I know everyone got on Devers for everything he said in the offseason. I feel Devers is having his second best career number year in Boston up until the trade. Danny, is there a legitimacy now to taking and look, shop around? Because South Point is the shortest numbers in the market now on the Giants. There are 14-1s to win the National League still out there. There are 25-1s to win the World Series still out there. Is that worth a sprinkle, or is this just, all right, you know what? They're going to make the playoffs, but they're still not on the level of the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Phillies, according to what you think?
Yeah, I think it's more so the latter. Look, I get the value, especially with the recent steam that we've seen from them, and again, that addition of Devers. But let's think for a second where the bar was set for them heading into this year. And now, because of what we've seen toward the first half, the almost full first half of the season, they've obviously exceeded those expectations. And the pitching has always been there for a while. It's just been that much better this year, which is great and obviously a necessity. But I think to a certain degree, they're going to cool off just because of the longevity of the season, because of how difficult that division is, and because they're still relatively limited with their offense, even though they did just add a bat in Devers. So, yeah, they're a great look in terms of the postseason, sure. And maybe they win a series kind of like in the same realm as the Cubs, where that may be their highest reaching point. But I don't have any interest to take them to win the NL or the World Series. And again, if you're looking at that buy low, sell high type of thing, and they get to the playoffs and the numbers a lot different, yeah, I get that discourse. Believe me, I do. But in terms of a realistic chance, no, I don't think this team is set up to win the pennant or to win the World Series. And if they prove me wrong, I'll eat crow, and so be it. Great for them. But again, I think they're having a great surge here, and it's going to carry them to a certain point, but not in terms of making it deep in the postseason.
Danny, before we flip into the game, your picks for today, player props across the Major League Baseball card. Just have to ask you about the AL. I know the Yankees have forgotten how to play offense the last 5 days, but Danny, I still see this American League as we're on a crash course to get Tigers, Yankees in the ALCS. Talk me out of this, because, I mean, look, we know the Yankees have struggled with Houston in the postseason in the past, to put it very politely, but other than the Astros, who is capable of possibly messing this up of a Detroit Yankees ALCS? Now, granted, the other answer that you could go with is it's baseball, and I would respect that, Danny.
Look, I mean, even with the Astros, as good as they've been picking it up lately, I still don't really love this roster as a whole. I mean, Framber Valdez has got to have a bit more consistency and show up when needed. Again, that goes without being said. They have pieces there offensively, but I think the rest of the AL West and the Mariners and the Rangers are going to slowly start to pick it up a bit more, and it's going to become a lot more competitive once we get into August. So, yeah, the Astros probably still the best team, as evident right now in that division. Do I think that they can overcome the Yankees or the Tigers? No, probably not. The Rays have been a team that have certainly surprised me, and I guess that would probably be my answer here, Jeff. And the biggest thing that's changed with them has been their hitting, right? And they've been exceptional against left-handed pitching over the course of the last month. And righties, they've been doing very well as well as they've been doing against southpaws almost throughout the course of this last month. So if they can keep up their hitting, we know that they have the pitching there. You're going to need a guy like a Taj Bradley, who does go tonight against the Rangers, to get a little bit more so into form. Now, his underlying metrics are suggesting that he is slowly getting there, but you are going to need him to stay constant throughout the later stages of this season. And if they can do that and you still have that reliable pitching and the hitting is doing better than I thought they were going to do, then yeah, that would be the next best team to do so. But you're right. I mean, it is baseball. It's crazy because outside of the Tigers, I have absolutely no confidence in anybody in the Central. And I don't think anybody else really does either. I mean, the closest team of the Guardians, who's 9.5 games back. The Twins have been slowly declining since the last 2 years. And with the AL West, I mean, the Mariners tease us every single season to even if they get into that postseason spot, they just inevitably fail. The Rangers are still kind of nursing that World Series hangover from a couple years ago. So, yeah, it would probably have to be the Rays unless the Blue Jays just get on a really hot streak here and then they make a big splash near the deadline. But I really like what I've been seeing out of this Tampa Bay team. But at the end of the day, I mean, we could say so much, but you're right. It's hard to dispute that the best pitching team in baseball in Detroit against what should be the best offense, despite what we've seen the past week of the Yankees. They're probably going to be the representatives in the American League.
Keeping it right there in the American League with one of the games you like today. Two disappointing teams so far. Two lefties go in, though. Royals and Rangers, Chris Bubich and Patrick Corbin. What do you like in this one? Royals found a way yesterday to get the win over Texas. They are favored again here, minus 125 at the South Point, and the total is 8.
Yeah, Royals, Rangers, first 5 under 4.5 is my play here, Alex. Now, Bubich was a guy that I was very high on coming into this season. Maybe not very high, but I was relatively high on him. And kind of the Royals as a whole, and they've obviously been very underwhelming. And they've struggled particularly against left-handed pitching. And Patrick Corbin, not a guy that I often want to trust, but his numbers haven't been too bad, and he's pitched a little bit better at home here. He hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs in any start this season. Casey's just got a 74 weighted runs created plus the last month. Corbin's BABIP has been really solid at just 260, and his whip ain't too bad either at 1.22. So hopefully the Royals can struggle a little bit here in the first half of this game. And then on the other side, as I was alluding to with Bubich, I mean, look, he's coming off his worst start of the year against the Yankees, 5 earned runs allowed. But his 4% home run to fly ball ratio, 44% ground ball rate against a Rangers team that has the second worst weighted runs created plus against southpaws in the last month gives me a lot of hope that this can be kind of a slow, ugly, lower scoring effort to where I like that 4.5 spot for the first 5. I think these bats are good enough and capable enough to come alive in the later stages of this contest. So that's why I'm just signaling it specifically for the first 5 innings. Like what I've seen enough out of these starting pitchings, but even like how much more these offenses have been struggling against southpaws to lead me to thinking this is going to be a lower scoring affair.
Danny, going to we go to Cincinnati next. The Reds, who now have the distinction of being the only team has not been swept this year. They beat Minnesota yesterday. We talked about the Twins a moment ago. They're back to 500. Reds are minus 30, but we're looking at a player prop in this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mac McClain under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Minus 125 was a solid price I saw compared to the rest of the market. Bailey Ober taking the bump for Minnesota, who has been very disappointing in his own right from what we've seen from him the past couple of years. One of my favorite pitchers to kind of back and been finding good spots with him over the course of the past few seasons, but it just hasn't been the case so far. This could present a good bounce back opportunity against a struggling Reds offense, and McClain against righties this year has a 197 batting average. So I think we could actually get Ober showing a pretty solid outing. And again, based on that price and the lackluster effort we've seen against righties from McClain, I like that prop for him to say under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs tonight.
Let's go to the Orioles in Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay, after they were red hot, finally take a loss there yesterday to Baltimore. What are you looking at this one? We've got Bradley versus Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, this game is fascinating to me. I've got a really strong lean on Tampa Bay here winning this game. I kind of mentioned it already with Taj Bradley that his underlying metrics are suggesting that he should be playing a little bit better, and this could definitely be the outing to do so against Baltimore, who we all know has been really brutal this year, but they have been picking it up against right-handed pitching. So, it wouldn't shock anyone for Bradley to get beat up again against a relatively surging Orioles team. The wind's blowing out. Obviously, you have a unique ballpark there as well. So I don't really mind the total either, but I do think you get a slight pitching advantage with Bradley as opposed to Rogers, who you said, Alex, is making a second start. Haven't liked what he produced in AAA or in the couple of seasons past, but in his first outing, he was tremendous. So can he do that again against Tampa Bay, a team that I mentioned has been crushing lefties the past month? Maybe, maybe not. But I still think Tampa Bay coming off, I believe they lost yesterday like 5-1. I think this is a good spot for them to bounce back with a pitcher in Bradley who needs to have a really good performance. So I got a small lean there. And I also took a prop on Yandy Diaz under 1.5 total hits. Steep price here, minus $1.80. Rest of the market was over $2 on him, 216 average against Southpaws. Rogers, if he does kind of prove me wrong in terms of why I like the Rays and he actually does have a relatively solid performance tonight, certainly that could hinder someone like Diaz to stay under 1.5 hits. Just think that's a little bit mispriced.
Danny, one last one. Let's go north of the border. And boy, what an awful loss for the Diamondbacks last night. Back-to-back homers by the Jays to walk them off. And now it's a battle of lefties, Rodriguez and Lauer. It's a flip in most shops. Jay's a small favorite here. But you're looking to attack Eduardo Rodriguez with that Toronto offense here tonight.
Yeah, under 4.5 strikeouts is what I'm taking for Rodriguez, whose ERA is certainly terrifying, but his xFIP and expected ERA are showing some promise. Does that mean I want to back it? No, not particularly, especially against his Blue Jays offense that against lefties, they have the third lowest strikeout rate this season. And since the beginning of May, they are number one in limiting that strikeout damage, sub 18% against Southpaw. So if Toronto can keep that momentum going from yesterday and Rodriguez pitches to what his standard numbers are right now, meaning his ERA of like over 6, and a pitcher who hasn't really produced that many strikeouts and is close to walking over 3 batters per 9 innings, I think it's a quality opportunity to take him under 4.5 Ks this evening.
He's Danny Burke. You can get him on the tweets at DannyBurke5, Stochastic, Odd Shopper, every once in a while on this program as well. DB, it's a pleasure. It's good catching up with you, man. I'm sure we'll do it again soon through the summer.
Hey, you bet, guys. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Absolutely. Danny Burke, everyone. All right, we will take a little bit of a break for the two of us because we'll check in with our good friend Chris Andrews, hooks, lines, and action, and also as well, baseball for us. And we also teased the 2026 Stanley Cup odds, which we'll see a little bit later as well. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Welcome in. It's Hooks, Lines, and Action. Of course, the one and only Chris Andrews with us right now. Chris, it is the nitty-gritty time in the NBA Finals, Game 6 in Indianapolis on Thursday night. Tyrese Halliburton is banged up now. Thunder take a 3-2 lead behind Jalen Williams' huge outburst in Game 5. Thunder right now sitting as a 5-point favorite.
That's what we owe them. That's what we're still at as of now. I still think the Pacers are alive, certainly in this game. And, you get to a Game 7, anything can happen. Halliburton has a big question mark. Completely ineffective yesterday.
Has there been anything betting-wise that has caught your attention in this series? It seemed pretty stable all the way through so far.
Yeah, it's been really good action on the series. I've talked to some of my compatriots, and the handle is down a little bit. It's not marquee teams, and for guys like us, Jeff, it really doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter for you and I, yeah.
Yeah, you and I. I mean, we don't. They could play anywhere and anybody, and if it's for a championship, we're going to watch it. We're going to bet on it. We're going to book it, and everything else.
Go to baseball real quick here, Chris. The shocking trade of Rafael Devers from the Red Sox to the Giants on Sunday afternoon. We'll see Devers make his debut this week in San Francisco. How did you guys alter the futures book based off that trade and already a very compact NL West?
I think it's a great addition for the Giants. We had them 20-1 to win the World Series. We lowered them to 15. We had them 10-1 to win the National League. We lowered them to 7. And I think that, listen, this is a well-run organization. They've won 3 World Series in the last, 14, 15 years. I think he's going to do well, and I think it was a really good trade for the Giants.
Chris Andrews, everyone, sportsbook director here at the South Point Hooks, Lines, in Action. Chris, thank you as always.
Football contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust: footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over 13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Welcome back in at Sports by the Book. Jeff Parles, Alex White. Big thanks to our guy DB for joining the show as always. Danny Burke, Stochastic and Odd Shopper. The trivia question is up, and as soon as you see it, you should be able to get it. That's all I'll say. An easy golf question. So we'll just go with that here today. See if we get a new winner today. Let's see if we can get a new winner. I'm not going to say we probably don't. More likely than not. All right, let's go to baseball, Alex. Let's start in Miami. The Fish, the Marlins got game 2 of the series yesterday. Offensive outburst for Miami. It'll be Mazur against Ranger Suarez down at Lone Depot Park this evening. Minus 70 on the Phils. Total's up from 7.5 to 8. It's been an interesting mover. This opened minus 90, and then Chris and Company took a big whack on the Marlins and moved to 20 cents. So it's been pretty much right there since that big move. So Phillies $1.70. Again, Phils 2 games behind the Mets in the NL East.
First, I do just want to start with anybody that tailed me yesterday. I apologize. Probably my worst day of the year. So going to try to get it back here. 10-5 to the over in full games in baseball yesterday. So my plan is to take a step back, right? Especially with unders, it is getting hot, and really evaluate and check and make sure you trust all these pitchers going. With that being said, I did like the Phillies yesterday, and I think this is a better spot for them today. I do like that run line here. Ranger Suarez, 7 of his 8 starts have been quality starts, meaning he goes to the 6, doesn't give up more than 3 earned runs in those starts. So trust him today. I don't love the fact that the Marlins have really been hitting the ball, and Phillies have been struggling a little bit in this series, but before that, they were hitting very well. So I think they're going to get back to it today. I'm a little concerned with Mazur on the other side. He's been pitching very well in AAA. His last 2 starts, just 3 earned runs, but only went 4 2/3 in that one. But 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, and the one before that, 8 strikeouts and 1 walk. Just wanted to put that out there. But we know, he had 8 starts last year with the Padres. Not a very good outing, or not a very good showing for him. 7.49 ERA across 33 2/3 innings pitched. So we'll see what do we get from him today. It's a little bit different stage going from AAA to the Phillies. So I do like Phillies tonight.
Going to Washington next. Boy, this is going from bad to worse to, is this really happening to us for Washington? In danger of getting swept by Colorado now. Yes, I understand they play again tomorrow, but even so, it's still in danger. They've lost the first 2. The Rockies, who again are 16-57 after yesterday's win, set their club record for most homers in a game, which it's not going well for the Nats right now. They're minus 50 today. They've lost 10 in a row. Rockies plus 135, total of 9 with Marquez and Parker. Again, it's going poorly for the Nats when they just get completely shut down by Antonio Sanzatella.
Yes.
So, Alex, do we just go against the streak again? At some point, the Nats do have to win another baseball. This just feels like a classic stay off here in this game, doesn't it?
Classic stay off. Just to break it down a little bit, I will say the last 2 days, and my dad liked the Rockies both the last 2 days, his numbers said those, it just didn't make sense. But now we are at the correct number here for the Nationals at home. And so I'm just going to stay away. I'm not going to lay that price with the team that's playing this poorly, losing 10 in a row. But I don't think there's enough value on the other side to jump in with the Rockies.
Yeah, just not good enough. Plus 135 is as low as we're basically going to see.
Yeah.
Especially with one of the veterans who've just gotten clocked this year on the mound, and Marquez has gotten clocked. Even though he pitched well his last time out, only gave up 1 run in 6 innings against Atlanta. That was his best start of the year on Friday. Speaking of Atlanta, we go there next. Braves walked off the Mets in extras yesterday. A key hit in that game, 3-run double by Ozuna to tie it in the 8th. It'll be Sale and Paul Blackburn. Minus 70 on Atlanta, plus 55 on the Mets, 8.5 the total. Everything feels fine here. I wish I saw an 8 on the total. I'd go over it at 8, but not at 8.5. So this is a stay away here for me, Alex.
You know, I am leaning that exact same way, but I did want to look at the Braves team total over because I do like both, but I do trust Chris Sale more than I trust Paul Blackburn. So if I can find a good enough number, I don't love that I do have the home team. So if they are winning, I won't get that final 9th inning there, but team totals, here we go. Braves here at the South Point is...
It's got to be 4 and a half. Got to be 4.5. Yeah,
it is 4.5. I do like that over 4.5. I mean, we're just these two. They find themselves getting into shootouts, so I like that. Paul Blackburn just 3 starts so far on the year. I think he could get hit today by this Braves lineup.
Blackburn has had 1 start. It was great against the Dodgers. He pitched out of relief on Friday and got destroyed by the Rays. So. Again, if it was 8 for the full game, I would go over that. But 8.5, again, I'm a little bit concerned about the Mets' ability to get more than 3 off a Sale, which kind of indirectly leads me to where you're going with that 4.5 over for Atlanta. All right, we go to the Chicago Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers next. Cubs win the first game of the series. Again, Cubs have a really big chance here in this series to put the hammer down on the Brewers, up to 6.5 now in that NL Central. And it'll be Tyone for the Cubs. And we get to see, and again, after rolling his ankle against the Cardinals, we thought, we might not see Mizorowski for a while. He's making his next start. Only was 1 extra day. And here he is on the mound. And look, Mizorowski was incredible in his major league debut. 5+ no-hit innings against the Cardinals, throwing 102 consistently before rolling his ankle in a freak-looking thing while walking back onto the rubber. Alex, this would be one that I would be looking to play the Brewers' first 5. Take the half a run, minus 20. Yeah, look, maybe I'm buying a little bit of hype on Mizorowski in that first start. But the Cardinal offense is good, is a high-end offense as well. Now, they're not the Cubs offense, and this is not Wrigley Field here tonight. And as always, we got to make sure to have with the wind in this one in Chicago, and it is blowing in. Again, kind of chance of thunderstorms, and it's cool. Boy, actually, now I might be talking myself into an under here in this game. In 13 mile an hour. The concern with this game, and this is one of those where you got to list Mizorowski. You can't go action on this. You got to list the pitcher because 85% chance of thunderstorms in Chicago. Could be a delay, could be axed completely. If it's a delay, I wonder if Milwaukee just doesn't throw Mizorowski because of the bad weather. So if you're going to bet it, make sure you list the pitcher Mizorowski at books that allow you to do that still.
I don't hate that, and I do think he will do decent in this start. We will see. Still a lot of unknowns here, but like my dad likes to fade them after their first really good start. I mean, he has been nursing an ankle injury, so I can't imagine that they took him out and kind of that strategy would work here. But I don't think we're giving enough credit to Tyone on the other side. 71% of his starts have been quality starts, 10 on the year for him. He's been really good, and I trust him in this spot. I also trust this Cubs lineup. So I would be going the other side. I like Cubs full game. I think that's a cheap price here with how good Tyone has been all year long. But I do not hate that under for the first 5. Maybe a smaller bet on that. Just kind of backing Mizorowski and expecting him to do pretty decent for the first 5 innings.
Going along to L.A. next, Dodgers and the Padres. Tempers flaring, to put it politely, yesterday. Dodgers win 8-6, so L.A. has taken the first two in this series. Game 3 tonight, and this is a mediocre pitching matchup on paper. Sheehan will be the one who at least starts the game for the Dodgers. Kolek, who is, to his credit, has pitched better after that disaster first inning against the Marlins in that ridiculous game that the Padres won despite being down 6-0. Plus 80 on the Pods, $2 on the Dodgers is a favorite, 9.5 the total. Alex, I kind of like the over again. I know it's a big number at Dodger Stadium, but it was 10 yesterday and it flew over. I would go over 9.5. That would be the only look here in this game.
I love it. I'm right there with you, especially because I kept it off my board and off of my bet sheet yesterday. I am going to add it in here today. I do think we will see some runs. I lean to the Padres side as well. I think that number's too steep here on the Dodgers plus 180. I think that's a good price. The Dodgers, of course, like you said, won 8-6 yesterday. Did use a lot of their bullpen arms, so I think we'll have a slight advantage there for the Padres. So I would just go full game, sprinkle a little bit on San Diego to avoid the sweep here.
This is Sheehan's first appearance in the majors since the final week of the 2023 season. Had Tommy John surgery in between, but would only be a look to the over at 9.5 for both of us on this one. We go to Seattle next. Hey, look at the Mariners yesterday. He scored 5 runs in 1 inning. I didn't know they were allowed to do that and ran to an 8-0 win.
Well, when Cal Raleigh is on
yeah,
your team.
Cal Raleigh, who, by the way, Cal Raleigh is, because of Aaron Judge's greatness, and everything gets overshadowed, at least in the power numbers. Cal Raleigh is on pace to have the most home runs in a single season by a catcher.
Whoa. So
he is having, if it wasn't for Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh would have a legitimate argument for AL MVP right now. 8-0 win for the Mariners yesterday, and we got a good pitching matchup here today. Crochet and Castillo, and we get a 6.5, Alex. There we go. 6.5 time down there in Seattle. Red Sox small favorite at -15 in this one. Crochet, of course, was one Aaron Judge long ball away from throwing a complete game against the Yankees on Friday night last week.
Which that does make me a little bit nervous backing him here, and even more nervous with the Red Sox and what we saw from their lineup yesterday, and them forgetting how to hit as well. I lean that way though with Crochet. I mean, he's just been so good all year long. His median numbers are 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts to just 2 walks. And as good as Castillo has been, he has not been Garrett Crochet. So it's a heavy lean that way, but I don't think I'm going to play it. I don't think I have enough value there.
I'm staying off. I was actually hoping Boston would come a pick in this game, a pure pick, and I would go with Boston, but I'm just going to stay off of this one. Let's go to New York next. What the hell is going on with the New York Yankees right now? Just shut out yesterday, shut out the day before, shut out the day before. Oh, and by before that, the 3 previous games, they combined 5 runs. It doesn't make sense. And look, this is the one thing that I'll say with the Yankees, and we saw this happen to them in the World Series last year, even with Soto on the roster. When Aaron Judge disappears, things can get very difficult for the Yankees. And this is the first stretch this year where Aaron Judge has gotten cold. Hey, look, he's going to win the MVP going away. We get that. But Aaron Judge's batting average, which started last weekend at .398, is down 26 points in 5 games. So, again, look, do we expect Judge did 400 for the whole year? No, but it's gotten down 26 points in 4 games, and that's, or in 5 games, and that's coincided with this Yankee offense fall apart. Now they have a good pitcher to face today. Kahanowitz has not pitched well at all this year, as we've talked about. Yarborough has pitched very well since coming into the rotation for the Yankees. Alex, I got to stay off of it because I don't want to lay 220. I don't want to lay a run line. But if the Yankees offense is going to get their act straight, this feels like the spot it's got to be here against the guy who has not pitched well. By the way, the Angels, very randomly, 5-0 on the road against the Yankees and the Dodgers this year because, of course, they are.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I do think this could be a good spot for them. I do not trust Jack Kohanowitz on the other side at all. But in the same sense, I do think that number is too steep, and you're getting some value here with this Angels team that's playing with a lot of confidence. I don't love Yarbrough, and I do think the Angels could get to him. I just hate that they are 23rd in OPS against lefties, so that makes me a little concerned there. But, I mean, it's hard to handicap. If you made me play it, I'd probably jump in with the Angels.
It's a big price.
Yeah.
It's a big price on the Angels who, again, what a weird year they've had. What a weird year. Look, they're on pace to go well over the win total, which is obviously good if you bet the over for that, but up, down. Their high level has actually been pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Their bottom has been as bad as anyone other than the Rockies this year. Just wild inconsistency for what will likely amount to a team that probably wins 77 games, right? Something like that. Just slightly below average when it's all said and done. All right, we go to Tampa next. Game 3 of this series, Orioles take one off the Rays last night, 5-1. Now there's another one tomorrow, so this is 3 of 4 down in Tampa at Steinbrenner. It's Roger. Oh, we get a Trevor Rogers showing for the first time this year. He'll go against Taj Bradley. -15 on the Rays, even on the Orioles. Total of 9. Alex, it would only be a look to the over tonight. And in Tampa, these first 2 games have gone under, which is surprising enough in this series. The weather in Tampa Bay tonight, chance of rain, wind blowing slightly out. It's only 5 miles an hour, so it's a very light wind, all things considered, down there.
I think this is a very tough game to handicap. I mean, on one side, before the loss yesterday, the Rays were red hot, right? And you kind of want to go back to them, back Bradley, but I don't know what we're going to get from Trevor Rogers, so that makes me a little bit nervous here. Definitely he's pitched quite a bit in AAA. May 24th, he did pitch against Boston, and he threw a gem in that one. But, I mean, for good reason, they sent him back down to AAA. So that concerns me a little bit. Probably a lean to the Rays. But the Orioles have been, figuring things out as of late, too. And I don't trust Bradley all that much. So I'm going to stay off of this one as well.
Coming up next on the card, we go to Texas, a game that Danny Burke is taking first 5 under, and Salvador Perez under his hits today after Perez had a huge night last night for Kansas City. It's a Bubic and Corbin. First bad start of the year for Bubic last time out. He was the last guy to give up runs to the Yankees. 5 runs in that second inning. Corbin, we've talked about, he's just been a normal below average pitcher this year as opposed to a bottom 5 pitcher in the league like he was the last few years. Rangers at home are a dog here. Total's gone down from 8.5 to 8 on this one, Alex.
Of course, full game stayed under. Seth Lugo threw very well yesterday, but the first 5 did not stay under for me. So that makes me a little bit nervous in this one to just go back to it. But I do think that's the correct number. I think 7 should be the full game. Maybe I should just go full game and not even go first 5. But I think I'm going to go with the Royals here and see if they can keep this going. Figured a little bit out yesterday against a really good pitcher in Leiter. So I like Chris Bubic. I think that there's a definite advantage starting pitcher wise with him on the mound. Of his starts, 69 of them have been quality starts. Like you said, just got hit up by the Yankees. It's only one bad game, so I think we'll get a bounce back for him. I expect him to go at least 6 innings here, which should be his medium number. It is 6 1/3. So yeah, I'm going to go Royals with that cheap price.
I'm going to stay out. Again, I just don't like how Kansas City has played in Texas. At some point, I do expect some sort of run, but it just not June 18th. Still got plenty of time, but I don't see the signs just yet for a potential Texas run. All right, we go to West Sacramento next. Severino and Valdez tonight. Boy, that was an easy over yesterday with Houston and the A's yesterday. 16 runs gets us there with ease. Alex, we talked about at least Severino's been awesome away from Sacramento. He's struggled mightily in Sacramento this year. That feels like a good price on Valdez here at -50, Alex. But as always in this ballpark, I'm a little bit wary of laying a price just because, again, it's playing like a high-end hitter's park so far this year still. So I'm going to stay off, but it would be a look to Houston would be the only way I'd go here.
It does make me nervous, but I do trust Framber Valdez a lot more than I trust Severino at home. Talk about splits. ERA for him 1.10 away and a 7.04 at home. So I do expect this Astros lineup to get to Luis Severino today, and I think that's a great price on Valdez, who is pitching very good this year. 10 quality starts for him. And no crazy splits, a little bit for his home and away. His ERA is a 3.89 compared to 2.77 because we usually back him at home. But I think he'll be just fine in this one. So I agree. At minus 150, I think that's a good price. Maybe even sprinkle on that run line at even money.
Going to interleague, we go to Tigers, and the Pirates-Tigers take game 1 off Pittsburgh yesterday. It's Tariq Skubal Day. Boy, look at that, $3 on Skubal. It's early. It's early. Injuries can happen. But what Tariq Skubal has done is just sick. Skubal's strikeout to walk ratio now. And by the way, he had a bad outing for him. He actually walked 2 his last time. Now, what the hell's wrong with him, Alex? How dare he walk 2? But even with that, his strike to walk ratio now, it's 111 to 9. 111 to 9 is his walk rate, strike to walkout ratio this year. That's insane. That's 12.3 strikeouts for every walk. That would be the best in the majors in the last 6 years if that ends up being the case. Unbelievable. Heaney on the other side. I think, look, it's just so hard when you're laying like on a first 5 run line. I mean, look, you're laying almost $2. That's insane. But how the hell are the Pirates going to score off this guy? Maybe this is just a Pirate first 500 total. Yeah. And you just get Skubal to throw a shot. But you're asking Skubal to throw 5 shutout, basically. It's really hard when you got a guy that's this elite and the pricing's gotten so out of whack because how elite he is, Alex. It's very difficult. Pirate team total for the game is 2.5, right?
It is 2.5. And honestly, I mean, the Tigers bullpen has been fantastic as well. Skubal's he went 7 innings in his last 3, and he went 9 before that against Cleveland. So we've talked about this Pittsburgh lineup all year. I think you got to take a shot there under 2.5 with the Pirates.
Yeah, I think that's, realistically speaking, Alex, I think that's the only way that,
I mean, it's still juiced. Minus 145 for the under.
It's so difficult. It's so difficult. I mean, you're just, it's so difficult to do but it's Skubal. It's Skubal. And as you said, high-end bullpen as well.
Is it? Okay, hear me out.
Oh, I'm listening.
125 to 1 to throw a...
No, not good enough. I know where you're going. Not good enough. Now, you are facing the right offense for a potential no-hitter. But it's got to, I just hate that tag. Like, I get why the books offer it, but
I know.
Realistically speaking, any no-hitter's got to be over 1,000 to 1. Just got to be. Yeah. We haven't had one this year yet in Major League Baseball either, which is very late into the season, all things considered. All right, let's go to Toronto next. We mentioned this with Danny. It's Eduardo Rodriguez and Eric Lauer. It's definitely not Matt Lauer, I can tell you that. Minus 10 on the Jays, minus 105 on the Diamondbacks, total of 9. Jays with a really miraculous win yesterday, back-to-back homers off. Why is Shelby Miller closing games in 2025 is another question as well. Really just a gut punch for the Diamondbacks, who really stabilized the ship nicely. I'm going to stay off of this. I think everything's priced okay here, Alex. Toronto should be the smallest of favorites, and they are.
I mean, I could make an argument here for the Diamondbacks just with the fact that they have hit lefties even better than the Blue Jays over the course of the entire year. I mean, it is one of the best lineups in the league. But, I mean, looking at Eduardo Rodriguez's numbers, you could make a case that he's been worse than Eric Lauer. So, yeah, I'm just going to stay off of this one as well.
Moving along. Next up, Alex, we go to Cincinnati. Reds take the first one off of the Twins. Lodolo and Uber tonight. Minus 30 on the Reds, plus 15 on the Twins, total of 9. Twins have come completely crashing back down to earth. They're back to 500. Again, all these American League Central teams behind Detroit are just super average. And Minnesota finishing around 500 makes sense. The Reds, hey, look, they're only a game and a half behind the Padres for a playoff spot. Very compact all of a sudden behind San Diego with those NL Central teams that are all within a half game of each other, Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Cincinnati.
I think all these numbers are just right, too. Maybe a little steep on the Reds, getting a little bit of value there with the Twins and Bailey Ober. I mean, I think both of these pitchers are pretty even with Ober and Nick Lodolo. Twins, very average against lefties as well. So we'll see how they do in this one against him. But yeah, stay off for me. Yesterday, I did like the Reds. Of course, I'm not betting them because they do the opposite of what I bet, but that did come through. So yeah, this is a stay off for this one today.
Going to Chicago next. White Sox and Cardinals. Cardinals had needed it. They beat down the White Sox yesterday, 12-2. Now their best starter, Sonny Gray, goes against arguably the White Sox best guy in Burke. Minus 70 on the Cardinals, plus 55 on Burke, total 8.5. I would only be a look to the under in the first 5 for me. If you can get those 4.5s that are still out there. This is one of those weird ones where I like the under in the first 5, but I like the full game over because I want to go after the White Sox bullpen. So a little bit conflicted here on how to exactly handle this here, Alex.
I think that could lead you to a Cardinals minus 1.5 play here. I mean, you mentioned it, 12-2 yesterday. So if it can be pretty even till 5, I think the Cardinals can put some more runs on their bullpen. Got to keep it going there. I like what I've seen from them, and White Sox, their offense is really coming back down to earth. So minus 1.5, minus 110, I think that's the best play here.
Next up, last one, San Francisco, Cleveland at the Bay here today. Giants, $1.35 favorites against the Guards. Cleveland won the Devers debut game 3-2 yesterday. It's Logan Allen and Justin Verlander. Verlander's $1.35 for San Francisco with a total of 7.5, Alex.
I will just say the Giants found a way to lose that one, even though they did have more hits than the Guardians. So that leads me a little bit to that side, but a little bit nervous about Verlander. On the other side, just 4 quality starts for him this year. So yeah, I'm just going to stay off of this one, but it's a lean to going back to the Giants here.
Yeah, it would only be a look at San Francisco, even though Verlander coming off the IL and not pitched well before going on the IL. Just kind of what he is at this point. He's just not a high-end guy anymore. He's a back-end rotation at best. And still weird seeing him in a Giants uniform, but it was weird seeing him in a Med uniform as well for those 4 months. So Giants would be the only look for both of us. All right, you know what? We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll show you how the South Point opened the 2026 Stanley Cup odds. We'll tell you who won trivia and a whiteboard to get us out of here on a Wednesday. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the Book. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
This is the best sports betting network.
I would argue it is a total mismatch.
There's value with underdog prices in series.
I would lean to the under here.
My numbers are saying I got to bet the Tigers.
Two-way action.
When in doubt, we juice that favorite, that extra nickel.
Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Forget about it. The best.
Welcome back in at Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White. Before we check in on the 2026 Stanley Cup final odds for next year, again, Panthers champions of the world for the second consecutive year. The state of Florida has now won 4 out of 6 championships, and they've been in the Cup final in all 6 of them. Of course, the only 2 that they didn't win were Colorado and Vegas. That's also 5 out of 6 warm weather champions as well. Only Denver, the only one that is not. But trivia question first, and this is a good one today. What is the largest margin of victory recorded to date at a golf major set on this date in 2000? And that, of course, was the epic thrashing by Tiger Woods of everyone at Pebble Beach at the U.S. Open in 2001 by 15 shots. Quite frankly, it didn't even feel that close. Nick got it. Nick's on the board again, so the Nick JR race continues to be fun in the trivia answer category here. Boy, that was the 100th U.S. Open, Pebble Beach, which is as good of a place as there is on planet Earth for a golf tournament. Absolutely dominant. Ernie Els finished second. There you go. Only 15 shots behind. Forget being the only guy under par, Alex. I mean, only won by 15 shots. Crazy from Tiger Woods. And that was a Tiger at his peak as well at that point. All right. Alex, quick on hockey.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Let's take a look at the odds. Chris posted these immediately after yesterday, a full off season to go. And I'll just tell you this. Florida and Edmonton are your betting favorites again, 8-1. The story of the offseason in the NHL for me, more so than anything, is who is playing goalie for the Edmonton Oilers going into next year. It cannot be either of the guys who played in this postseason. No. Cannot be Skinner, cannot be Pickard. And I'm curious to see who ends up going to Edmonton. That is the number one storyline this offseason. You see Carolina, Colorado, Dallas, and Vegas at 10-1, Tampa at 15, Toronto at 18, and then Jersey, Winnipeg, the Rangers, LA, and Washington at 25, 20-1, and then Minnesota and Ottawa at 25, and then everyone else is super long. I'll just ask you this. I know it's probably going to be a rebuild in Boston now. It's so weird to see them at 100-1. It's so weird to see Pittsburgh that far down the board as well, but kind of is the end of the era there. I just want to see what transpires this offseason, and I'm curious to see what the changeover with Toronto is as well. That kind of dictates what happens in the East. But Ottawa 25-1 feels a little bit intriguing. You have the goaltender in place. You have the young talent in place. 25-1 feels, if we're going to take some shots, Ottawa 25 would be the only shot I'd be willing to take at the current moment, Alex.
Hey, I don't hate that at all. Ottawa was kind of my sneaky team that made it into the playoffs. But, I mean, right above that on our graphic, the Capitals, Logan Thompson there. And I really like the pieces that they added this past year before running out of gas there in the playoffs. So maybe that. But I will say that for the most part, hockey is a very long season. So you can find value throughout the entire year. Of course, we saw it with Florida and the Oilers kind of went through some down times this past year, but some of them, you got to be careful. Like Carolina, I mean, 10-1 could be the best price you get on them all year, and they just keep getting lower and lower.
And then they lose in the Eastern Conference Final again. I mean, that's just kind of what, right? I mean,
they got over the hump. They
won a game.
So maybe.
It's a lot of offseason be played, but we at least wanted to just show you all these numbers as they were posted right away. But Ottawa, having the goaltender in place is critical.
Yep.
They have them in place in Olmark. So we'll see how it all plays out. And plenty of offseason to go. We only got 12 months to bet these now, Alex.
You sure you don't want to jump in on Nashville there at 50-1 before
I'm okay.
All the sharps grab all the numbers?
I'm okay with that.
I don't think that's happening again this year, for the record.
Yeah. Also, we get to see the Utah Mammoth logo for the first time there. Very nice, Ryan. 40-1 on the Mammoth to win the cup. All right, Alex, ready for whiteboards?
I am ready.
Ready to go here on a Wednesday. We don't have anything from Kenny on college, babe. Do we?
Yep, I do have a text here.
Quick.
Parlay Coastal and over 11.5. Wind blowing out. Louisville is starting a guy who hasn't pitched in a month.
Okay, so get that in quick because that game starts momentarily. So over in Coastal.
Yep, over. So we'll start off with the Phillies. I do like them to bounce back here in this spot over the Marlins. So I am laying the 1.5 with Ranger Suarez going today. Couple team totals. I like the Braves over 4.5. Lean to that full game over, as Jeff and I discuss, but I do trust Chris Sale, especially his last 5 starts have all been quality starts. So I do think we'll have a good outing from him. I'm going under with the Pirates, under 2.5. Tiger Skubal on the other side. We'll see if they can hold them under 3 runs for that entire game there. Padres, Dodgers, I'm going to take it over 9.5. It's really nice weather in LA too, so don't trust either pitcher going. And then I'm going to do a little favorites parlay here. So this is the different spot, but I like all of these favorites. I'm not going to go crazy, probably just a unit on this combined, but Cubs, Cards, and Astros all to get the win tonight, plus 325.
There you go. That's I like that part. I like that. You round robin and parlay that together. You do maybe
Probably
a little
will,
bit of both.
yes.
A little bit of both.
Probably throw the Phillies in there for
a little more
robin.
juice.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. Kenny's play on the College World Series game, which you may not be able to get it in because that game is about to start if it hasn't already. It's on over in Coastal Carolina with Coastal Carolina. He likes Coastal Carolina to eliminate Louisville and on the over as well. But again, that game may have already. We don't have our television. Our televisions are blocked off by the screen. So if you have an opportunity to bet it, you got to bet it right now because that game is starting momentarily if it hasn't already gone in Omaha. All right, that's what we got. That's what we got here on a Wednesday. Ryan, Jerry, Vince, Sean, Drew Dog, and Ann, thank you as always. Alex, good luck. Bounce back
You
Wednesday.
too. Thank
Bounce
you.
back
Yes.
Wednesday here today. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you again tomorrow. Vinny Maliulo will join us on the program on a Thursday. We're looking forward to that right here on Sports by the Book, 10 a.m. tomorrow here at the South Point Studio.